Hello there, this is Dan from GuitarFromTheHeart.com, and today I wanted to share 3 tips for getting better with your dexterity when you're new as a guitar player. I know it can be frustrating when you're brand new. Believe me, we've all been there, seasoned players and brand new players alike. Our fingers are not very good, how can I say? They don't take instructions good. They're not good employees. They're not good kids. They're not obedient. They don't do what we want, you know? And that can be really frustrating because the guitar is all about your fingers. And I can relate because, I mean, these are not exactly guitar player hands, you know? They're not, you know, my family's like, we work with our hands. My grandfather was a carpenter, my father was a mechanic, and, you know, we work with our hands and we have these thick fingers that can't fit good on our frets, and our hands don't really want to wrap around because my fingers are so short and all of that. So I understand the frustration. So I wanted to offer up 3 tips if you're a new beginner, or even if you've been playing for a while but you're kind of struggling with your dexterity, that I think will be really helpful to you. First of all, state the obvious. The more you play the guitar, the better your fingers are going to get at playing the guitar. This is just like a law of the universe. Whatever we do a lot, we get better. Like our brains, we have like this God-given ability or whatever, where the more we do something, our neurons, and there's all this science to it, like our neurons they start firing and they make connections, and then we're able to like do the activity a little better, and then it remembers what's good and filters out what doesn't work and something like that. I don't know. But anyway, the more we do stuff, the better we get at it. And the more you practice the guitar, the better your dexterity is going to get, but especially the better it's going to get if you practice a certain way that's proper for building dexterity, which is pretty much, for the most part, doing slow, precise movements as small as possible, over and over again the correct way, until something called muscle memory starts to kick in, where your brain will start to do that connection thing that I was just talking about, and your fingers will kind of automatically memorize the muscles in your fingers, and the connection all the way to your brain will memorize how that's supposed to be done, and then you could kind of do it without thinking about it, like tying your shoelaces, for example.
We now interrupt this perfectly good video to show you some weirdo playing a mindless solo. Because you like it. Remember to subscribe to the channel because we need more subscribers. Thank you very much.
So the more you practice the guitar and the more you practice doing the movements slow, precise, and small, the easier it's going to get your fingers to do what you want them to do. Another thing that you can do to help you with this process is memorizing where your fingers should go. And this, I want to tell you, for me, I think that this is even more important than the first one, frankly. Because remember, these big fat sausage fingers that don't like to be told what to do, they don't want to obey. They don't want to do what the command center is telling them to do. They want to do their own thing. They want to fly in the air when you're trying to press them down. One finger's trying to press down, the other one's flying in the air, right? And it doesn't work out, right? So they're bad employees. They're bad kids. You know, they're bad kids, I say. They just don't want to do what you tell them to do. So, how can we make it do it? The way we can do it is to give them instructions for why. why is it, and I don't know about you guys, but I've worked with a lot of kids in the past. I used to work in an after-school center, just working with kids all day. And kids are just little people. They're adults, but they're like adults. We're like big kids. They're like us, but they're little. They're human. They want to know, like, if you tell them how to do something, they want to know why, right? And I'm like that a lot. I go to a new job, whatever. I'm trying to learn what they're saying to do. Why this, why that? And it kind of gets my supervisors annoyed and whatnot, because it's like, just do what I'm saying, right? And that's how we treat our fingers. We're like, oh, I want you to press a 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, or whatever. And that's how the lick goes on the tab. And you're telling your finger, I want you to press that pattern, and your fingers are like, why? Okay? And I think, I don't know, I've been playing a long time, but this is how I feel like our fingers behave. I feel like this is kind of like what's going on, and I don't know, I think there's like a psychology thing that's happening, or like neuroscience or whatever, but like, I don't know. And I've actually studied a lot of science in my time, but I don't understand about all of these things. I just know that in my experience, my fingers don't tend to want to do what I'm telling them to do. So, they're disobedient. But if I explain to them why they're doing it, it makes it a lot easier. So I said I was going to give 3 tips for how to have better dexterity on the guitar. This is tip 2 and tip 3. Tip 2 is, if you memorize the pattern and it's clear in your head that when you look down on the neck of the guitar, you can literally see in your mind's eye beforehand where your fingers should go, your fingers are going to be a lot more obedient, because it's like you're telling them, when you're visualizing that, you're feeding information to your fingers to tell them what they're about to do. They know what they're supposed to do, so they're better at obeying it. The tip 3 is music theory, understanding the music theory. And I want to say as simplistic in this video, when I'm saying music theory, I want to say that even as I want to say it even as simplistic as this. Music theory meaning just knowing where the notes are, knowing the names of the notes, knowing what's a root, knowing what's a third, knowing what's the 4th, the 5th, how to find the scale degrees of the major scale, for example. If you understand that, okay, here's the pattern, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, right? That's maybe one of the versions of the diatonic patterns, going from the 6th string down. Okay, I can see it. Now my fingers know where they're supposed to go, and now I can actually visualize too, okay, because that's the root, and that's the 3rd, and it's a 5th. So pretty much what I'm saying here, it's like 2 tips in one, is that when you understand why your fingers are going in a certain place and exactly where they're supposed to go, and you know what they are and why, it's almost like if your fingers are going to be more obedient because they understand why. Now, I don't know, I'm not a philosopher, I don't know if it's true if your fingers know stuff, but to me it seems like they're disobedient suckers that only want to obey when they know what they're doing and why. And so that's the big takeaway today. Play the guitar a lot, practice doing the movements as correctly as you know how, and there's plenty of information online that you can look up how to do certain movements the correct way. Do them slowly and precise. Be able to visualize where your fingers are about to go before you try to make them do it, because they want directions, right? They want to know exactly where they're going beforehand. And give them a reason why they're going there by knowing what the notes are. Those are my 3 tips for today for how to gain better dexterity. If you do this consistently with everything you're learning, even if you have lousy hands that are not made for guitar, and even if your fingers don't want to fit in a fret supposedly, and even every time you fret a guitar chord You got strings that are muting out by accident. All this happened to me when I was a beginner too, and it still happens when I'm doing new chords. Be patient, put these things to practice. I believe they will help you to become a better guitar player whose fingers actually obey them. Play the guitar from the heart and have fun with that. I will see you next time.